Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make a New York style chocolate chip cookie dough cheesecake. It has a brownie shortbread crust, a rich and creamy New York style cheesecake filling with cookie dough baked into it. It's topped with a chocolate ganache and decorated with chocolate chip cookies. It is delicious. Let's get started. Before getting started, all the ingredients must be at room temperature, including the cream cheese, eggs, heavy cream, and butter. So measure out these ingredients and let them sit at room temperature for a couple hours until they're no longer cold. If the room is quite warm, they will come to room temperature much faster. And use good quality ingredients for best results. This is the type of cream cheese that is used in New York, but it doesn't matter what kind you use. It just has to be full-fat cream cheese. Don't use reduced fat, since reduced fat has a little more moisture in it, which affects the texture of the cheesecake. And it also must be the block cream cheese, not the soft spreadable kinds that comes in a tub. And for the eggs, they must be extra large or jumbo eggs. I'm using fresh eggs that I get from my own chickens, so I know they're good. For the heavy cream, use any that's at least 36% milk fat for a nice creamy cheesecake. And for the butter, any kind will do, just make sure it's the stick butter. It doesn't matter if it's salted or unsalted. First we'll make the cookie dough. In a small bowl, add in the flour, cake flour, baking soda, and salt. Whisk them until combined, and set it aside for now. Then in a large mixing bowl, add one of the sticks of butter that was brought to room temperature earlier. Add in the sugar and brown sugar, and cream them with an electric mixer for a few minutes until light in color and fluffy. Then add one of the eggs that was brought to room temperature earlier, and vanilla extract, and beat them in until well combined. Add in the dry ingredients, mini chocolate chips, and finely chopped pecans or walnuts, which is optional. If you're using them, make sure they're finely chopped. Mix them in by hand until combined and the cookie dough has formed. Place 1 cup of the cookie dough into a separate bowl. Cover both portions in plastic wrap and place them into the fridge for now until cold, a minimum of 1 hour. Then to make the brownie shortbread crust, preheat the oven to 350 degrees. Generously grease a 9-inch springform pan with butter and line it with parchment paper. The way I like to do it is to remove the sides of the pan. Place a sheet of parchment paper onto the base of the pan. Put the sides back into place and cut off the excess paper from the edges. Wrap the outside of the pan with aluminum foil and set the pan aside for now. Heat the dark chocolate in the microwave until melted, stirring every 15 to 30 seconds so it's heating evenly. Then set it aside to cool. Then in a small bowl, add in the flour and salt. Whisk them until combined and set it aside for now. Then in a medium bowl, add in the second stick of butter that was brought to room temperature earlier, and sugar, and cream them with an electric mixer for a minute until combined. Then add the egg yolk from another one of the eggs that was brought to room temperature earlier, and vanilla extract. Beat them in until combined. Then add in the melted dark chocolate from earlier, which should be cooled by now, and beat it in until combined. Then add in the dry ingredients, and mix them in by hand until combined and there's no more dry flour. Try not to overmix. Add the dough into the prepared springform pan. Press it all over the bottom of the pan, using butter or flour on your hands to keep it from sticking. You don't have to press it up the sides of the pan. And bake it in the oven until set, about 15 minutes. When it's done, remove it from the oven and set it aside to cool completely, and keep the oven on at 350 degrees. Then to make the cheesecake batter, in the bowl of a stand mixer, or you can use an electric hand mixer if you don't have a stand mixer, add one of the packages of cream cheese that was brought to room temperature earlier, sugar, and cornstarch, and mix them on low speed for 3 minutes until combined, smooth, and creamy. This just makes a nice starter batter. You may need to scrape down the sides occasionally so it's mixing evenly. My mixer attachment has rubber on the edges and it scrapes the sides as it's mixing, so I don't need to do it as often. Then add in the remaining cream cheese, one package at a time, mixing on low until fully combined, and scrape down the sides after adding each one if needed. Add in more sugar and vanilla extract. Beat them in until combined, but don't whip the mixture. And scrape down the sides when needed. Add in the remaining 2 eggs that were brought to room temperature, adding one at a time. Mixing well after adding each one, and scrape down the sides when needed. Then add in the heavy cream that was brought to room temperature. Mix it in just until combined. Try not to overmix the batter. Then finish it by hand to combine all the ingredients. Again, don't overmix the batter. Pour about half of the batter into the pan on top of the baked crust. Level the top. Remove the smaller portion of cookie dough from the fridge. Break it up into very small pieces and add about half of it all over the top of the batter in the pan. Don't make the pieces too large or they may sink to the bottom as the cheesecake bakes. Add the remaining cheesecake batter into the pan. Add the remaining cookie dough on top of it in very small pieces. Push them down and level the top so they're covered and only some of the cookie dough is peeking through the top. Place the cheesecake into a larger pan. This is a large roasting pan. If you don't have a pan this big, you can use a sheet pan. Place it into the oven. And pour hot water into the larger pan, letting it come about ½ an inch up the sides. It doesn't have to be boiling water, just hot tap water is fine. And do it quickly so you don't lose too much heat from the oven. And bake it until the cheesecake is set around the edges but still jiggly in the center, about 1 hour and 15 minutes. Sometimes it can take longer. When it's done, remove it from the oven and remove it from the water bath. It should look like this when you shake the pan. This is how you know it's ready. Place it onto a cooling rack. Carefully remove the aluminum foil from the outside of the pan. And let it cool completely, which can take up to 2 hours. Once it's completely cooled and there's no more warmth to it at all, cover it in plastic wrap and refrigerate it for at least 4 hours or overnight until it's well chilled. Then for the cookies, preheat the oven to 375 degrees. Line a sheet pan with parchment paper. Remove the larger batch of cookie dough from the fridge. Scoop out teaspoon-sized portions of dough. Roll them into a ball and place them onto the pan, spacing them out at least 1½ to 2 inches apart to give them room to spread. Then bake them in the oven for 8 to 12 minutes until cooked to your liking. For softer cookies, bake them for 8 minutes. For crisp cookies, bake them for 12 minutes. When they're done, remove them from the oven and let them cool on the pan for 2 minutes. Then transfer them to a cooling rack and let them cool completely. Then repeat that with the rest of the cookie dough. To make the chocolate ganache, in a small heat-proof bowl, add in the chocolate. I'm using half milk and half dark for a balance of sweet and bitter. And heavy cream. And heat them in the microwave until the chocolate is melted and the mixture is smooth, stirring every 15 to 30 seconds so it's heating evenly. Then add the vanilla extract and salt. Mix them until combined. Then cover it in plastic wrap and refrigerate it for 1 hour until it's chilled and thick. Don't refrigerate it for longer than an hour or it will get too firm. This is what you want it to be. It should be thicker but still a little runny. Remove the chilled cheesecake from the fridge. Carefully run a butter knife around the edges to loosen it from the pan, trying not to scratch the pan. Remove the sides of the springform pan. Transfer it to your serving plate. Use the parchment paper underneath to lift it off the base of the pan. And remove the parchment paper from underneath. Add the ganache around the top edges of the cheesecake. And spread it out, leaving a 3 to 4 inch circle uncovered in the center. And feel free to let it drip down the sides too if you like. Then break up some of the cookies and add them to the top of the cheesecake, leaving the center uncovered. And I'm also adding some whole cookies to the sides of the cheesecake. I'm just using some of the ganache to stick them on. Place the cheesecake back into the fridge for an hour to set the ganache and keep it refrigerated until ready to serve. If you plan on chilling it longer than an hour, it's best if it's kept covered. To make clean cuts when you serve, dip a sharp knife into some hot water, dry it off with a paper towel, and cut out a slice. Keep dipping the knife into the hot water and dry it off after every cut. And that's how to make a New York-style chocolate chip cookie dough cheesecake. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, give this video a like and check out my channel for many more videos and subscribe to my channel for more to come. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.